Hi, you guys. Welcome back for another episode of Owning Your Sexual Self. I I am literally fangirling so hard. I cannot even believe that what is about to happen is happening. A couple months ago, I shot my shot, and I reached out to some of the bigger names in the industry of like who would I love to have on the show? Like who would I literally die over if they said yes to coming onto the show? And lo and behold, we have on today's guests. Yes, multiple. We have on Vanessa and Xander Marin. Again, I cannot even believe it. Vanessa, I listened to her and Xander's book a couple years ago, their book Sex Talks. It's 5 conversations that will transform your love life. Highly recommend. I'm sure we'll get into it in today's episode. But Vanessa is a sex therapist with over 20 years of experience. And Xander, he's just the regular dude. He's the partner in this. It's so similar to my marriage, right? I am Rachel. I am the sex therapist, and Danny is the regular dude that is here along for the ride. And so, Sex Talks, their book, was on the New York Times bestseller. So definitely check that out. But they are the shockingly open, slightly nerdy, and seriously funny couple that you're going to be calling your new besties in no time. I'm not kidding you guys. If you go into my saved sections of my Instagram, majority of my saved videos are from these two. They are make great content, so relatable, funny. Like I cannot like just speak the praises of them enough. And so they are also so real. They share the ups and downs in their relationships while they're giving you the step-by-step techniques to improving. So if you want to give them a follow, you can find them on Instagram at Vanessa and Xander, or you can tune into their podcast, Pillow Talks, where they do totally doable sex tips, practical relationship advice, hilarious and honest stories of what really goes on behind the scenes and behind closed doors, and so much more. And that is the truth. The reel today that I came across was them. It was like number 22 things that you don't see in movies happen in the bedroom that happen in real life. And it was like them in bed together, getting all ready for sexy time. She pulls out the sex toy, so excited, and you go to turn on the sex toy and it's fucking dead. Who's been there? I know I've been there, and like just like the frustration that comes when that happens. And so I was just giggling over that because that is so real. So yeah, definitely go over to their Instagram, give them a follow, and it's truly the sex education that you wish you had. And yeah, I'm so excited to be welcoming them to the show today. So again, I'm so giddy. I'm like a kid in a candy store right now. Just so excited to be welcoming them and to have them today. So without further ado, let's welcome our guests, Vanessa and Xander. Vanessa and Xander, thank you so much for coming on to the show today.
We're so excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, I already shared off script, but I'm like I'm just fangirling so hard. Like I can't even believe it that you're here, that you said yes. Sometimes I see my shows like just little old me over here with my couple hundred views and listens of every week. And but then I think of it, I'm like, okay, if I was in a room and I had 500 people there standing like listening to me, I'm like, that's pretty fucking cool. So yeah, I'm
It
just
is. And we need more and more of these conversations. So we're glad that you're a part of this movement with us.
exactly. Yeah. Thank you so much. So yeah, I want to dive into it. We're going to be talking and just around a lot of things, primarily the Bristle reaction. You had a viral go, or you had a reel rather go viral around this. So I know I saw that you doing your get ready with me, doing your skincare routine, and then so I'd love to talk about that and getting into some of the rejection piece, shame piece. I mean, we could talk, I'm sure, for hours. I would love to do like 10 episodes with you guys. We'll focus just on those two things today. Those couple.
Okay, so the bristle reaction is the term that we came up with for that feeling when your partner reaches out to touch you and you can literally feel your body recoil. You're bristling, it's like all your walls come up, you don't want to be touched. And we first started talking about it because it was something that we each experienced in our relationship. And when it happened for me, I remember it was so confusing. Like I would just be washing the dishes and Xander would come up and grab my shoulders. It was really innocent kind of touch. And I would think to myself, like, why am I having such a strong negative reaction to the person that I'm supposed to love the most in this world? Like, why is my body just totally shutting down in those moments? And to be really honest, like, it made me feel like a bad person. Like, why am I having this reaction? So it started out of this personal curiosity. And as we started exploring it more and more, we were also hearing about it from people in our community. And I started realizing, I think that what's happening is our bodies are picking up on what is not being said in that moment.
Mhm.
And I realized that a lot of the times when Xander would come up and touch me, sure, on the surface, it was an innocent little touch. But my body could tell that what he was actually doing was like, well, let me linger for a little bit longer and see if I maybe start to get some positive
Yeah.
signals and positive feedback. He was actually trying to initiate in those moments, but he wasn't being direct about it. So even though on the surface it didn't seem like anything was going on, my body was like, I know what's going on and I'm trying to shut it down because I wasn't feeling immediately excited about sex in that very moment. So we started realizing the bristle reaction tends to happen when couples are not very direct about their initiation.
Mhm.
Yeah, one of the really interesting things is that reel that you're talking about, where Vanessa started talking, kind of coined the term bristle reaction and talking about what it feels like. Vanessa was describing in the reel the nightly makeout routine that we have every night. And then and sort of like innocently dropped the bristle reaction, was she was describing the makeout routine and was like, when you don't do something like this, then, touch and kisses and stuff can feel really high stakes, and something like the bristle reaction
Mhm.
can start to occur. And I think that really hit a nerve with people. And it's interesting because it really just gets at that push pull. And like what we realized from that reel is so many people, like tens and probably like, I mean, the reel got like 20 million views or something like that. So it's like probably like hundreds of thousands of people saying in the comments, like, I want to have a nightly makeout routine. That sounds not like I want to be able to do that. But at the same time, it feels scary trying to do something like that because I'm so worried that my partner is going to turn that from like, oh, a nightly makeout to like, oh, well, I want to have sex every night. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, I don't really feel like I'm prepared to do that. And it's like, so it just kind of like, you even feel that bristle reaction inside of you when you're considering that. So it's just so interesting where it's like, I want more intimacy, but I don't. It's like this push
Yeah.
pull.
The
Mhm.
other piece of the bristle reaction that we realized that led to the makeout is that we realized we really weren't touching each other or kissing each other very much outside of sex. And I think this is something that's pretty much everyone who's ever been in a long-term relationship experiences. It's that feeling of in the beginning of the relationship, we couldn't keep our hands off of each other. The night that Xander and I met, we made out for 6 hours, which sounds absolutely insane now. But, the years go by and you realize like we're really not reaching out for each other and touching each other and kissing each other. And so it makes those little moments of contact feel even more loaded because I couldn't trust, oh, he just wants to give me a hug. It was, oh, it's a hug and he's hoping for something more. So we decided as a way to try to break those patterns to do this nightly makeout, which is what we made the reel about. So we decided every night for at least 30 seconds we would make out, and it was not supposed to be as a lead up to sex. We actually, even at the very beginning when we started doing it, we said we're not allowed to have sex after this, but it was literally just to bring back more kissing into our relationship. And we've done the same thing with touching too, trying to be really intentional about having touch that is completely separate from sex.
Mhm. Yeah. I'm curious, so when you started the makeouts at night, um who Xander, you're the higher desire partner, is that right? Or would you say both of you are?
I'd say at this point in our relationship, it's pretty 50-50.
Hmm.
Earlier in our relationship, I probably would have identified as the lower desire partner. The interesting thing the interesting thing is recently we have kind of come up with a new sort of model to explain sex drive that we haven't talked about publicly too
Okay.
much. Now that we are starting to talk about this a little bit within our community, I can now understand why that was. It was because I wasn't really in full acceptance of how my own sex drive and desire really worked at the time. Now that I totally understand that, it's like we're very much
Mhm.
50-50.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I will be so happy to like hear more about that and that new framework that you guys are coming up with.
Yeah.
And so what I maybe it was for you or either of you, I would love to hear like when you first started implementing this, the making out at night, what did it like did that urge of wanting to have sex come up, and then how did you handle that, especially if it was present for one of you and not the other?
It was kind of a mixed bag of things. Like sometimes, I think right at the very beginning when we first started doing it, we both felt this pressure of, okay, I know we're saying that this is just
Yeah.
for making out, but like, is it secretly is my partner hoping that it leads to more? So that was why pretty quickly we came up with the rule, hey, let's just say we're not actually even allowed to have sex. Even if we both magically get turned on, we have to leave the room, hang out for 5 minutes, and then come back and we can have sex. So yeah, I think it was a little confusing at first, and then there was this, well, yeah, what's my partner thinking? What are they feeling? What am I thinking? And what am I feeling? But we just stuck with it, and after I'd say even just after a week, we both started to settle in and realize like this is really fun to do this just for the sake of making out.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, for me at that point in our relationship, I had a little bit of admittedly, a bit of a complex about feeling like thinking that I had the lower level of desire relative to my female partner, and feeling like, well, I'm a man, I'm supposed to want it more. And so one of the things that was interesting and kind of challenging for me about the makeout thing at first, one reason why I was a little hesitant is that I would have the experience of, okay, we're making out, and then all of a sudden you start to maybe get a little excited. And in my mind, because I'm like, oh, well, I'm the lower desire partner, I need to like prove my desire to my partner. I would kind of have this instinct of, oh, well, now I'm starting to feel it, like, so like now's the moment, like we got to go for it. So
Mm.
because it's like, it felt like sort of almost like a fleeting moment of desire, like, ooh, I have it right here, right now, I got to use it. And I think honestly for men, whether you're the lower desire partner or the higher desire partner, if you have more of a spontaneous sex drive, I think that men especially can really feel like you got to use it or lose it. Like, I
Mm.
feel it right now. It's got to be right now. And so I think that a lot of men can feel resistant to doing something like this because there's this feeling like, oh, well, once if I start to get excited, if I start to get hard, like we got to go right now. It's the only option. But the really cool thing is that what I learned is it was almost like I had to learn how to kind of just channel that. I had to appreciate like how nice it felt to be making out in those moments. And if you start feeling a bit of desire, it's almost like channeling that desire into like, ooh, it feels good to be excited. It feels good to be making
Mhm.
out with my partner right now. And just sort of being able to sit with that and realizing, oh, okay, what this means, this doesn't mean like I'm never going to feel this way again. All it means is that I actually know now what I need to do in order to feel this again. Like, okay, now's not the time to have sex, but when we do want to have sex, even if I'm not feeling it in the moment, I can start to trust, oh, if I just start making out with her for like 30 seconds, I'm going to be there. And so I think that a lot of men could like learn from that and
Mhm.
realize, oh, okay, yeah, it's okay to get excited, and I can kind of like hold on to that energy and save it for later rather than being like, I gotta use it right now. Like, no, I can hold on to this until the moment is right and know, okay, if I do that thing again, I'm gonna start enjoying it. I'm gonna start feeling close to my partner, and I'm gonna feel excited and ready to go.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, it's like creating more of those gateways to intimacy. And I love that you spoke on that part of like it's not something that I need to use right now, like you were getting at the use it or lose it. And so I'd like to run with kind of that example and bring it back to the bristle reaction. So for the partner that is feeling like that drive come up, and maybe that is a time that they're then doing that touch, that sort of like wishy-washy, like, hey, let me see, let me catch
Uh-huh.
here real quick. If yeah, for somebody that's listening that's noticing that they are having this bristle reaction, how do you then suggest that they approach their partner and sharing that this is happening with them?
I love using podcasts to open up
Mhm.
conversations. Like even in our own podcast, we designed so many of our episodes to just be conversation openers. I think it's so much less awkward to bring it to your partner and say, "Hey, I was listening to this episode. I didn't even know this thing existed. It was really interesting, but I think I'm doing this."
Mhm.
And the thing about the bristle reaction is your partner is picking up on it. They can tell, they can feel that energy of like, oh, leave me alone. And it doesn't feel good for them either. So a lot of people, women especially, will tell us, I don't want to bring it up with my partner. I don't want to hurt their feelings. But we say, you're already hurting their feelings. So you talking about it openly and in a way where you're helping your partner recognize, like, I don't want to be doing this, that's really going to decrease hurt feelings. So I would bring it up to your partner and say, I noticed that I've been doing this. I'm really glad to have this explanation for it now. It makes so much sense. I don't want to be doing this. I think that these things would help me stop that. Can we be partners in working on this together? So, the specific things that you want to ask for, more non-sexual touch. And if it helps to make a structure around it, like us doing our little makeout routine, we also love recommending to couples the 30-second hug. We have research showing that about 20 to 30 seconds is when our bodies release oxytocin. And so it's just can feel so good to have that long extended hug. That's another thing that you can try. Or maybe there's some other form of non-sexual physical touch that you really love. We actually really recommend couples ask each other, what are your 3 favorite ways to be touched? We did that when we were writing our book, and we tried to guess each other's totally wrong. So that can be a great conversation. So it's more non-sexual touch, and to also be more direct with your initiation, to actually talk out loud about it rather than having it be, purely nonverbal and physical. That can take so much of the pressure off.
Yeah, because then it's like, look, touch is touch and initiating sex is initiating sex. Like they're two separate things. I think so many of us avoid verbal initiation. And it's not to say that you can only ever initiate verbally, but if you are in a bit of a standoff or any kind of like challenging dynamic, I would recommend really taking away all of the nonverbal initiation and really just trying to go all in with verbal so that you can start to train yourselves. Okay, I know what initiation is. It's 100% clear. There's no, it's not confusing. There's no like, is he or isn't he? It is very clear so that you can start to really trust all these other things are touch or emotional intimacy. There's not an ulterior motive. And then you can start to bring back other forms once you're starting to feel like, okay, cool, we're not in this bristle dynamic anymore.
Yeah, I like the tip on the verbal. I just imagine I go to my partner, I'm like, I would like to have sex with you. Like I am claiming.
Yeah,
What?
I mean, we really like initiation to feel more like a conversation. And we have lately really been experimenting with like having a conversation about it in the beginning of the day.
Mm.
So we'll talk, right in the morning about, hey, I want to be intimate with you today. When's the best time for that to happen? Like, what does our schedule look like today?
It doesn't have to sound that formal either. Like you can use whatever, like you can, I want to have sex. I want to fuck later. What do you think? Like whatever, whatever's going to feel fun and exciting for you. I think so many people just hear verbal and think that, yeah,
Yeah.
like what you were just saying, where it's like, oh, I, Xander Marin, would like to have sex later. Is anybody going to say yes?
Yeah, but if we turn it into more of a conversation, and even if one person's like, oh man, I didn't sleep very well last night, I'm really tired, then it can turn into, hey, how can I support you today? How can I take something off of your plate? Or maybe it's that we've been feeling a little disconnected. What can we do to carve out a little like quality time for us to emotionally reconnect? I think most people, we think of initiation like it has to come in the immediate moment before sex. Like, do you want to have sex with me right now, yes or no? And that feels so high stakes and so much pressure to the partner who's being initiated with. And so when we turn it into more of a conversation, it feels so much more collaborative, so much better, and definitely way lower stakes.
Now, I know a lot of people are going to hear that and they're going to be like, okay, I hear you, I get that, but I don't, something feels off. And most people will say, well, the challenge with that is that it feels like we talk about it early in the day. It's early in the day where like anything is possible. You're still thinking, yeah, I'm going to get everything done that I've planned, and then I'm going to have space for more. So it's like early in the day can feel like, oh, well, I commit to all kinds of unreasonable things early in the day. And, in reality, let's be real, in reality, 50% of those unreasonable things don't end up happening, right? They get pushed to the next day. And I think we hear from so many people, especially people that are more planners, go like, well, I don't want to, if I say that early in the day, then I'm really committing to it. And what if XYZ happens? What if the kid ends up in urgent care and we're there all night, And so you can get stuck in these like theoretical situations that could or could not happen where you're like, well, I couldn't possibly do that because then I'd be breaking a promise. And I think that the important thing there to remember is that it's not just a single conversation, it's an ongoing conversation
Mhm.
throughout the day. So if the day starts going kind of sideways for you, it could be like checking in. Hey, you know what? I know that we talked about wanting to be intimate later, which sounds awesome. And here's where I'm at right now. A bunch of these unanticipated things happened. I'm starting to feel really frazzled. Like, share how you're feeling, share
Mhm.
how important it is to you to want to do this. And yet, this is also what's happening for me. So it's an opportunity to check in, an opportunity maybe to ask for some support. It's an opportunity to renegotiate or just adjust the plan. Like, hey, I'm struggling to envision if that there's going to be time. Would you be open to maybe tomorrow, something like that? But
Mhm.
continuing the conversation, because I think everyone just assumes that it's like we talk about it at 6 a.m. and then it's like if it doesn't happen by 9 p.m., you're envisioning that situation where like both people are sitting on the couch so tired and you're both kind of looking like, are they going to notice? Are they going to notice? And it's like, no, that's not what we're talking about here. It's like it's an ongoing conversation.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. And what would you say for the people, and we're getting into now scheduling sex. I knew this would happen. We would talk all over the place. I hear from some people like that when it comes to scheduling the sex, or similar to what you're saying here of having the conversation in the day, then they feel sort of this anxiety and this pressure building up to when it comes, and they feel it's almost like, well, now I have to be ready. So I like what you were getting at, alluding to like that's mini micro conversations throughout the day to check in. But if that happens to a person, what do you recommend there? I like to talk through like bridging activities, like how do we get, it's not like the flip of a switch. Like how do we, it's like I like the switch with like the slider on it. Like there's a
Yeah.
slow there's a slow slide to it.
Yeah, I think so many people hear that phrase scheduling sex and it just brings an immediate sense of dread and totally shuts them down. So we like using the phrase intentional intimacy instead. I just think it feels so much lighter. And yeah, the conversations that Xander was having, like having ongoing conversations really helps. Also recognizing like it's you're not signing a contract and it's not like you're going to get a fine or a punishment if you don't follow through. Like life happens. And so when we talk about it throughout the day, that helps us realize like, yeah, okay, maybe we had an idea at the beginning of the day that just isn't going to be able to come to fruition at the end of the day. But another thing that can really help if you're somebody who still feels like I just don't know. It feels like a lot of pressure and expectation. One other thing that we like to do is schedule quality time. So
Mhm.
don't say we're committing to having sex no matter what. Just say we're committing to spending some time together. And I like saying some time together doing something physical. And I keep that very like something really minimum. We usually call it like an easy win. So is it, we'll get in bed and cuddle together naked, or we'll give each other massages. We'll have the makeout
Mhm.
session. We'll walk around the block and hold hands.
Not naked.
Not naked. I mean, unless you,
Optional.
I don't know, unless you really want to. But yeah, like something physical that you're doing with each other that feels like something that you could commit to.
Yeah, and I think when you do it that way, like yes, of course, both of you are going to have, wrenches thrown in your schedule, and there's going to be days where things come up and all of a sudden you're just not capable, like you're physically not there because something is happening or so much has happened that you need to, hey, I need to take care of myself and just sit on the couch is, too much or whatever. I think though, the key is not to be like, okay, if I miss the schedule one time, I'm a horrible person. No, of course stuff is going to come up. But I do think the interesting thing is you can look at this almost like a data collection exercise. And if you're like, hey, we're scheduling this intentional intimacy once or twice a week, whatever. And I'm finding 50% of the time I'm not able to, or I'm not up for it.
Mhm.
That's a really interesting data point. What is going on with my schedule, with my life? Like, because at the end of the day, the idea here is recognizing that some type of physical intimacy is an important part of a relationship. And so it's like, it's an opportunity for you to get a little more critical, I think, with yourself and more honest. What is going on with my schedule, with my life, whatever, that I'm not able to make time for this thing that I know is essential for my relationship? Do I need to ask for more help? Do I need to start saying no to things? Do I need, it's like, it's just an opportunity to look inward. I think the reality is a lot of us, we're really busy and we don't want to have to look at that stuff. But, being stressed and being busy, those are two of the biggest libido killers that there are. I
Mhm.
hate to say it to people that are super busy, but that kind of is the reality. So it's like if you're consistently not able to do this, it is time to get honest with yourself about, okay, do we need to change the schedule so it's not this frequent? Because I just don't, I'm not able to commit to that. Or do I need to make changes in my schedule and my life? Do I need to ask for help or say no?
Mhm. Yeah, great. I feel like mic drop in that moment, right? Like people got to get really honest with themselves around some of this stuff. And I think it's also too, it's like people get into the space of wanting to, do the work in their marriage or in their intimate life. It's like, are you ready? Like, are you
Yeah.
actually
Mhm.
willing to step up? Like, because it generally does require some changes in life, and it's unfortunate that we grow up like nobody teaches us how to do this stuff. Nobody teaches
Mhm.
us, how to communicate, how to talk about sex, like, So it's really I tell people all the time, it's like it's to no fault of you to your partner that this is where you land, but it is now that this is it is your responsibility if you want something different to do something different.
Yeah, I mean, I say that from my own personal experience. I had to go through this really early on in our relationship. When we met, it was right. I had just graduated from college. I was at the beginning of my career. I was working a very high stress consulting job.
Hmm.
And, I wanted to be really successful. And it sure seemed like looking at everybody working there that if you put in 60-hour weeks as a junior analyst, like that was how you were successful. You didn't say no to projects. When someone asked you to stay late to do something, you say yes. Like that's how I thought that you got ahead. But then you look around, more than half the people that are there, quit before they can move up because it's so stressful and all that stuff. I obviously wasn't looking at that part of it, but we got to a point where it was like we had no time for any kind of intimacy. I
Mhm.
barely ever saw Vanessa, even though we lived together.
Mm.
And kind of reached a point where it was like we were just not having sex, and I had no time or energy or desire to have sex. And eventually, it was like, all right, well, do I want to be working this hard for I'm not even sure what, or do I want, and risk losing my relationship, or do I want to consider making a change?
Mm.
And ironically, interestingly, thank God for me, I did start setting boundaries at work. And the crazy thing was that I became more successful actually
Mm.
once I did that. I was happier, I did better work, I got more respect from people in the office because I actually set reasonable boundaries. It was a really amazing experience. I'm glad I got to have that early on.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think like yeah, being a people pleaser, being a yes person, I know it can feel good, but I think the reality is it's just not congruent with having a great intimate life.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. And I'm curious too, going back to Bristle reaction, for the partners that are listening, that maybe it is their partner that they're noticing is having the reaction. What are some compassionate responses that the partner can have when they're noticing that recoil in their loved one?
I love just going to a place of curiosity. I think curiosity is one of our greatest assets as a couple. So if you are, listening to this episode and starting to put things together, like you can also use this episode to open up a conversation with your partner and say, "Hey, I was listening to this. It sounds kind of familiar. It sort of feels to me like maybe that might be what's going on for you, but I'm not sure. I wanted to check in with you and see what you think." So opening up a conversation in that way can be nice, and really making sure your partner understands that you want to be a teammate with them. So saying to them, "Hey, if this is what's happening for you, oh my gosh, I really don't want that to be happening, and I'm really sorry if any of my actions have like made you feel that way. I want to know like what are the kinds of ways that I could touch you, or times that you're open to touch or not open to touch." Like I gave that example of washing the dishes. I found that to be, people are so unique and different, but I found it to be almost totally universal that women don't love being interrupted when we're washing the dishes. It's just this like,
I don't like being interrupted when I'm washing
yeah.
dishes.
It's like, let me just finish it. I've got this gross like plate. My hands are all soapy and gross. Like, let me just finish the task. So, it could be asking, what are your favorite ways of being touched? What are your favorite times to be touched? Are there times that being touched just doesn't feel welcome to you? But yeah, just kind of getting curious about your partner of how could I touch you in a way that feels more enjoyable and exciting to you?
Hmm. Yeah. And this kind of segues me into the next thing. So it's conversations like this that you guys are having and couples are having that they're finding success in the relationship and within intimacy. And that leads me then to Xander, your reel that I'm assuming also went viral around it starts with, my wife never rejects me for sex. And so I would love to talk again. I think what you were just sharing it kind of segues into that. But what else? Can you give us some context around why that is true for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's most of the things that Vanessa just listed out. I mean, it's knowing how to initiate, and it's to be really clear with people, there is no one right way to initiate. Initiation, it's like a very large menu. It's like, one of those restaurants where you're like, how do they have like 200 things on this menu, and how are they able to prepare this many things? But it's kind of like that. There's so many options, and it's not about what the right one is. It's about what type of initiation your partner prefers, what kind of energy they enjoy. Is it more verbal? Is it more nonverbal? Is it more stretched out? Is it more immediate? So many different aspects to initiation. So it's starting to really understand, what is my partner going to like the most? Because the mistake that most of us make is, if we've never talked about initiation or never talked about what you like versus what I like, what we tend to go with is what we ourselves like, right? And we just kind of assume, oh, well, that's just how it is, right? Like, that's what I like. And I can almost guarantee you, your partner almost certainly does not like the way that you like initiation done to you. So you gotta start to understand all of that.
Yeah, we have a
You got
model called the initiation styles model that we came up with that covers 6 different initiation styles. It's really similar to the love languages model, this idea that like we all like to give and receive love in different ways.
Yeah, so initiation is so important. I think that's really like the number one big thing. There's so many aspects to it. But yeah, knowing how they like to be initiated with. And then also, yeah, knowing like just general, like when in the day tends to be best for us. Do we like to talk about it earlier on? Do we not? What, how much warm up does my partner enjoy? Is it better to, kind of start with a different activity rather than just going straight into it?
And then in that reel, we also pulled in a lot of other dynamics separate from just the initiation, too. So we talked about like, we do a really good job of prioritizing our emotional connection and making sure that we actually feel close to each other. Because when the two of you are not connected, initiating feels like jumping over the Grand Canyon, right? But when you feel closer and more connected, it feels so much easier. So stuff like that. It was also like he said, because I always ensure that she has a good time.
Yeah.
I think most people don't make the connection between our enjoyment of sex and our desire for it. And it's so obvious when we lay it out like this, but most people just don't make that connection. We call it the mushy broccoli problem. So we ask people like, do you ever find yourself craving a bowl of overly steamed mushy broccoli? Like, no. Okay. And do you think anything's wrong with you for not wanting mushy broccoli? Of course not.
Mhm.
Okay, but we have to be really honest with ourselves. A lot of us, especially a lot of us women in relationships with men, are having sex that's the equivalent of some mushy broccoli and beating ourselves up for not wanting it more.
Mhm.
So for us, like making sure that the desire that the pleasure and the enjoyment are there, that's actually the key to unlocking the desire. So that was another big part of the reel too.
Yeah, and then also finally, the flip side of initiation is what the other person says, and that's, we call that consideration. And so another big part of it is that we know how to turn the other partner down in a positive way, in a way that's not just like, no, what's wrong with you? Why would you want that right now?
Hmm.
Which is the way that it happens in so many relationships. Not only is it just an abrupt no, but it almost gets turned around on the other partner. Like, how dare you?
I mean,
What's wrong with you that you
Hmm.
would be thinking that I would even be okay with that right now? So there's a turning down gently, and ideally even suggesting some other type of connecting activity instead, so that it doesn't just feel like we're walking away from each other. And then finally, there's, just me myself being able to be okay to with a no, being able to be
Hmm.
okay with, okay, I was feeling excited, I was feeling some sexual energy or some desire. I don't, like I kind of mentioned before, it's like I don't need to expend this right now in this moment. And instead, for me, I think the big flip has been like, it's almost like a gratitude for like, hey, I'm grateful that I have a sex drive and that like that I have desire that happens at random points in time. And so rather than being like, oh God, I'm so disappointed that I couldn't use that right now.
Mhm.
Instead, it's like, hey, I love myself for the fact that I have this desire that comes and goes, and I know that I will have it again and be able to, have that with my partner.
Mhm.
And also, like, not punishing me for saying no. That's another
Yeah.
huge dynamic that we hear about. Like, if your partner gets, they hear a no and they get grumpy, they won't talk to you anymore, they get angry at you. Like, of course, you're making your partner not want to say yes to you. So that's another huge
Yeah.
thing, too, is like being able to gracefully accept the no.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, which I mean that takes a lot of that inner work as well for a person to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And yeah. Yeah, I just appreciate, I'm loving this conversation. I'm noticing time. I'm like, my gosh, I literally could talk to you guys for hours and hours, but I would love to get into your book. And so I found myself listening to your book when it first came out. I listened to it in the morning on my bike rides, and I constantly was like stopping my bike and pulling out my notes app and writing down notes. Like, I have to come back to this minute in the book because it was so good. And so I'd love to just hear. So it's the 5 conversations that every couple should have. What can you kind of go over them briefly with our listeners today?
Yeah, so the original idea behind the book was, everybody's heard that you should talk about your sex life. Like when you're up late at night in incognito mode, Googling, like, why does my partner never want to have sex with me anymore? Like it always says in the article, like, talk to your partner about
Just
it.
talk about it.
Just talk about it. But the advice always ends there. You very rarely see, like, well, what do I say? How do I say it? When do I bring it up? What do I do if my partner says this? And so that was something that, we really struggled with in our own relationship. Even me being interested in this career since I was like a tiny child and like being a part of the sex therapy field already when we were dating, like I couldn't find any practical tools or resources when we were struggling with our own connection. And so we had so many horrible conversations. I think the very first time we ever talked about our sex life was me yelling at Xander, "Why do you never want to have sex with me anymore?" Which, as you can imagine, did not go well.
Might have set us
Yeah.
back a little couple years.
And so we really wanted to write a book that was super practical, that told people exactly what to talk about and how to have those conversations. So we took this enormous topic of like, just talk about your sex life. And we worked really hard to boil it down into the 5 conversations that we think any couple would benefit from having in their relationship. And again, so much of this was determined by us having all the terrible conversations. We're like, okay, what's the exact opposite of that of what we did? So the 5 conversations are, the very first one is acknowledgement, which is really just acknowledging that the two of you have sex, which so many couples really even never get around to having that conversation. Like it's been years, decades even, and they haven't had a great conversation about their sex life.
Yeah,
So
like it's just this thing that we do late at night with the lights off, the bedroom door closed, and it will never be spoken of again. But it better be real good. It better be real good. We better not have to talk about it.
So we wanted to start there to really help ease people in. Also, I think that most people think about sexual communication like we did, only when things are bad.
Mhm.
Oh, well, now I have to, why doesn't he want to have sex with me? Why does he never do this thing that I want him to do? So we wanted to start on a positive note instead of just helping you get comfortable with the general topic. Then we go into connection. We mentioned it briefly earlier, like the emotional intimacy is so important. So many of us tend to separate physical and emotional intimacy. We think of them as like, oh, those are 2 totally different things. And we think
Mhm.
of sex as we kind of silo it away. But the reality is that how connected or disconnected we feel with each other throughout the day heavily impacts our desire to like be intimate with our partner. So this is all about how do you maintain this thread of connection between the two of you, like throughout the day, so it's not feeling like you're leaping over the Grand Canyon to find each other in bed at the end of the night.
Mhm.
Then we go into desire, like what do we each need to feel excited about having sex? And so much of that conversation is really like an exploration of all the crap and myths and misinformation we've all been taught to believe about how sex drive should work, which is really like fascinating to get into with each other. Then pleasure, like I was saying earlier, pleasure has to be one of these central, components of any of our conversations. Like, why would we crave something that's not enjoyable? We talk a lot about the orgasm gap in male-female relationships too, and how to close that and make sure both partners are having an enjoyable, satisfying experience. And then we wrap things up with number 5 is exploration. Research shows that it actually does, it actually is really beneficial for a relationship when we try new things together. But I think a lot of people get really scared about what that means. Like, oh my God, do we have to have a threesome or do some ridiculous 50 Shades of Grey scenes? And those are great if you're into them, but not the only way to do new things in the bedroom. So it's how to keep that excitement and that variety alive between the two of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and those 5 things, I mean, you are giving people just such a well-rounded like topics of discussion for their conversations. And yeah, I commonly will see things like, let's talk about sex, and then you're right, it stops there. It's like, well, yeah,
Yeah.
like, do I just sit down with my partner like, hey, I would again like I would like to talk about our sex life, but the book, yeah, it is so well done. I said in the intro, I'm going to say it again, like you got to get this book. It is so well laid out. It's understandable too. It's not, sometimes I think in the industry, sometimes people we say things and it just kind of goes over the average person's head, or like, right,
Mhm.
we can speak to each other and using different terms, we understand what they are, but
Yeah.
not everybody gets it. And so just the book is so good at that of people understanding it. And again, just like a great starting point for people that are wanting to again get into doing this work in their relationship.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, we're pretty goofy, playful people, so we wanted it to be a book that was fun to read. I mean, I'm sure you've had the same experience of just reading so many books about sex that are so clinical and boring. And I'm like, how do you make sex boring? I don't understand it. So we know people are nervous about this. I was nervous talking to Xander openly about sex. So we wanted to make something that would feel fun, that would feel like an easy, light read. We share a lot of embarrassing stories about our own
Mhm.
sex life.
Pretty much all of them.
Yeah. So yeah, but ultimately we wanted it to be really helpful. So we have stuff like all sorts of, hey, if your partner says this, then respond this way, or here's a little, another little nugget to talk about. So we really tried to walk people through it in a way that feels doable.
Yeah. Yeah, and for people that maybe book things are not your thing, you then created the card deck around it, and so kind of making it like a game,
Yeah.
an activity for couples to be able to go through the same conversations at with.
Yeah. Yeah. So the card deck is really cool. It's broken down into the exact same 5 conversations. So we have 5 categories of cards.
Mhm.
And God, how many? We probably have like 18 or 20 per category or
Yeah,
something
there's
like
90
that.
cards
Yeah,
total.
there's 90 cards total. So yeah, so we have a bunch for each category. And so it's really good conversation starter questions.
Mhm.
Um, and because yeah, like similar to, what you guys were saying about like, a lot of sex books out there are, kind of clinical or go over your head. We noticed a lot of card decks out there are like it's like, yeah, let's talk about sex in a way that's going to start a fight. Like we
Yeah,
saw so many
personal.
things out there where it's like, what's one thing you do in bed that I do in bed that you hate? And I'm like, well,
You're
great.
so
You're
right.
never gonna open this card deck again.
My favorite one that I ever saw was tell me something you hate about my parents. I was like, that is just a one-way ticket to therapy. I don't know who came up with this question, but yeah, we wanted to make a card
Yeah.
deck that would be hopefully not cause any fights.
Yeah, the card deck goes along with the book really well. Yeah, I mean, or it's a great card deck whether you've read the book or not. Like they're great
Mhm.
conversations to be had. We have a couple suggestions in there for how you can kind of turn it into a couple different kind of fun games or ways that you could do it. They're great, like just date night, pull a card or two, or go through it in a more structured way, whatever you want.
Mhm. Yeah. I'm still gonna plug read the book because the
Yeah.
examples and like the client shares that you have in there are so relatable for people. And again, your personal stories. So yeah, the game, I think the card deck is a great addition and it does bring that more play. But I'm not. They did not pay me to
Yeah.
say this. I'm telling you
Oh
guys.
yeah. No, grab them both. Grab them both. I'm pretty sure Amazon has a special on
Yeah.
on the package deal.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you guys so much. I would love to get into the last segment, which is just some fun, playful, rapid fire questions to wrap
All
this up.
right.
Again, yeah, to plug you guys again, I talked about your reels are so great, so educational, funny to have come across your social media. So for people that are listening, if you want to find and follow Vanessa and Xander, they're on Instagram at Vanessa and Xander. Very easy to find. They got the blue check mark. They're going to be the first ones to pop up. Not gonna have a problem with it. And I know on your website too, you guys have a ton of free resources for people that they can
Mm.
get. And so, yeah, definitely just a great another tool for and resource for people to have in their pockets. So thank you for all of that.
Thank you so
Yeah, thanks.
much.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I have my list of rapid fire. I was like, let me
All
choose
right.
some good ones. Okay, first one. Okay, I'm gonna go with this one. What is your favorite go-to after sex snack or drink?
Ooh, God,
I'm
we're not
not
big
a big
snackers
post-sex
afterwards.
snacker, but probably I would go more in the dessert
Yeah,
direction.
I would go like maybe some chocolate
Yeah,
would be really
chocolate.
nice. Uh-huh.
Hmm. Okay, all right. And next one is morning sex or evening sex?
Afternoon sex. Afternoon is my
Yeah, middle
absolute
of the
favorite
day.
time. Middle of the day. It feels like so sneaky. It's a little easier for us because we work from home, but I just feel like my energy peaks in the mid-afternoon.
Or like very early evening,
Yeah,
like
Yeah,
before dinner.
but not the end of the night.
yeah, yeah. Definitely not after dinner. I actually
After dinner is game
did
over.
a podcast episode on the fuck first rule. Got that from you guys. I'm like, yes to all of this. Um, Perfect. Okay. Okay, if you could ban one common sex myth forever, what would it be?
Oh God,
I
just
thought that was
one.
gonna be
Ugh.
hard.
Um, I would probably say that we should feel spontaneous desire for sex just out of nowhere, and that even in a long-term relationship, like if you're with the right person, you'll just want to have sex with them all the time.
All right, I'll go the opposite direction. That female orgasm is complicated.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that
I
because I was
for
wrestling between those
everybody
two.
that would save men and women so much, so much strife. And yeah, like if I had just known about how female orgasm works from the very beginning of my sexual career, I think I would have been a much better partner. And so would so many people out there.
Yes. Yeah.
And there would have been a lot more orgasms had.
True. Yeah. Talk about orgasm gap, right? Like, yeah, it's just
Yeah.
education. All right, finish this sentence. Foreplay starts when?
After you finish having sex.
Yeah, I was like,
Right
I'm
now,
Yeah.
right now.
yesterday.
Yeah, because everything you guys are saying in this episode, it's ongoing conversations. It's not just this big thing, this production and like around the initiation. Like it's constantly happening, and especially if you're focusing on the emotional intimacy in the relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Let's end with hmm, who is more likely to laugh during sex?
Me.
Yeah. We both are.
Sorry.
We're both pretty silly, but Vanessa laughs at me regularly. Not okay. To be fair, not like not when not during intercourse. You don't ever. But it's like right at the very beginning, like when we're starting to kiss. If like I kiss you weird or something,
You know, your lips make like that weird smacking sound or something, something is a little off.
once you're locked in, you're locked in. But you laugh very frequently at the beginning. You're like, what are you doing?
I mean, I think both of us think this, like laughter is a great addition to sex. So many of us think of sex as so serious, and I've totally been guilty of this, of feeling like, oh, I've got to get in this super seductive, like sex goddess mode. But for me, and it's different for everybody, but for me, like I'm a goofy person. I love laughing with Xander. I love making fun of each other. Like that's one of my favorite parts of our
Yeah.
relationship. So why would I not want to bring that into the bedroom? Like when we can laugh at things, it just makes me feel so much closer to Xander. And it takes the pressure off of things too. Like if you really think about it, sex is so awkward. It's so weird. And
Yeah, it's not a very serious thing.
Yeah.
there's so many strange things that happen. And so trying to pretend that none of those things are happening and like, no, no, this is just perfect. Like that doesn't work for me. I like being able to laugh at like, wow, that position just did not work. Or our chests, made that weird squelching sound when they got pressed together. Like it's just
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah. That being said, if you are into serious sex, that is totally fine. We're not trying to say that sex cannot be serious. It absolutely can. but you do have to accept the fact that it can't always be 100% serious.
Perfect. It can't be
Perfect. Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like having the just well-roundedness around that, like maybe there are times like let's say a couple that's playing with maybe some like dom sub dynamics and whatnot. The laughing might not be appropriate for the person that's in that dominant role in that moment, like trying to command the space.
Yeah.
And so yeah, but I thank you for normalizing that. And yeah, thank you just again so much for coming onto the show today. I think this was a wonderful, wonderful episode. And again, I appreciate everything that you both do. And hope to keep seeing your funny reels that you put out.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much.